All right, good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the Grace CC Boone podcast. My name is Ben Callahan, and I'm the associate pastor intern here at Grace.
And I'm Tim Trudeau, senior pastor here at Grace.
How you doing this afternoon, Tim?
Good. Yeah. Beautiful day. I'm doing well.
Good, glad to hear it. What's our topic for today? I'll let you say.
Our topic for today is a life purpose statement.
Life purpose statement. That's kind of daunting, if you ask me. That's an intimidating prospect. What's a life purpose statement?
A life purpose statement is like a compass or a map. It's the particular way that you are going to glorify God in all that you do. In our previous podcast, I mentioned Os Guinness's book, The Call. And all of us have a call upon our lives, which is to take up our cross daily and follow Christ. It is to make disciples of all nations. But each of us has an individual, particular calling upon our lives, which is the way we personally are called to honor God in the course of our daily lives. It's a statement that's in keeping with our personality, our gifts, our spiritual gifts, our background, our training, our experience, what makes us uniquely us in such a way that God is going to magnify himself uniquely through us. Because each one of us has a particular individual call upon our lives, and we need to identify it and then live it out if we're to be most fruitful and effective in glorifying God in our daily lives.
Sure. So, am I right in saying that this is something that you do?
I do. Yes.
And how long have you been doing this? How long have you had a life purpose statement?
I've had a life purpose statement. Well, looking back, I basically always have, though, of course, I say always, I mean, going back even to my early Christian life, I can see that I really was intentional, had a purpose, even when I'm in college in the dorm and trying to win young men to Christ that I'm on the dorm floor with, or then the RA of, and I was very intentional in my purpose there at the State University and college, though I didn't have it written out on a piece of paper. But as I got to seminary and then into the pastorate, it was more formalized, and it's changed over the years. If you're single and in college, it's going to be a little different. If you're married and in the workforce, or depending on if you got young kids at home and so on. I'm probably on my fifth or sixth revision of my life purpose statement.
And how do you know when it's time to revise your life purpose statement?
Part of it's circumstantial. I mean, obviously, you're in a change now from college to ministry, and then from singleness to marriage, and at major transition points of life, it's a time to write a new life purpose statement. Or God calls you. You feel God calling you to something new. Or you discover gifts you have that you didn't know you have, or that you didn't have before, or you go on to get some extra training, and now that opens doors to a different kind of purpose, or your careers change, all sorts of things that might, or health. Let's say your health is broken, and now you're at home, you're on disability. Well, now all of a sudden, the way you're going to magnify God from day to day is different than the way it was before. Not any less significant, just different.
Yeah, that's good, and it sounds like, kind of to sum up what you're saying, like any time that you're not doing what your life purpose statement says you're supposed to be doing, either you need to revise your life or you need to revise your life purpose statement.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
So, and that, I mean, that happens a lot, and I think the advantage of the life purpose statement is that it's a safeguard against drifting, right? So all of a sudden, I'm doing a totally different thing than I was before, and if that's where you're supposed to be, then you should revise your life purpose statement. But if not, then the problem is with your life, and you need to readjust, reprioritize.
Right. And, part of the value of a life purpose statement is just learning when to say no.
Sure.
Of all the things that I could be doing, which of the things that are potential for me fit with who God has called me to be in this time and place. A lot easier to say no to certain opportunities or certain pressures. If you have a life purpose statement, you can evaluate this open door or this request or this pressure and compare it, and how does it fit? How does it fit better than something I'm already doing that has to go out, and this comes in or not, and you can respond appropriately.
Sure. So how do you go about writing a life purpose statement, starting from scratch? This is where I'm at. I need to write my first life purpose statement. So what do I do?
Well, first is to evaluate who am I? And that involves what spiritual gifts do I have. You can get online, and there are simple spiritual gifts tests you can find online. A DISC personality test, you can find those online as well. And they're very, inexpensive, if not even free, those kinds of things. And then you're considering what training, background, experience you have. If you come out of one certain home background versus another, that may have some. If you are a person who's naturally outgoing versus more introverted, well, that's going to have some kind of impact on your life purpose statement, your personality, your identity, all those kinds of things. You can ask yourself, who do I admire, and why do I admire them? And somebody else might think, what, them?
Sure. Yeah.
But there's something attractive about their life. Well, what is it? Why does that particular biography or that particular teacher you had, why do they resonate with you? What is it in their life that you see that you want to emulate? And why is that? And those are the kinds of questions you can ask. It might be kind of silly, but, what kind of movies do I like?
Sure.
What do I like to do in my free time? Why is that? And what does that tell me about myself? Those are the kinds of things you can ask yourself. And ultimately you're trying to answer two questions. Who does God want me to be? And what does God want me to do? It's character and action all wed together into one statement.
Sure. So that's, simple questions, but hard ones to answer. So I like that idea of who do you admire, because generally, well, we admire the people that we want to be like. And so, that's a good place to start. What kind of a role does your life situation play in this? We talked about this a little bit already, but how do you consider where I am in life, and how does that impact what my purpose is?
Well, if you're a mother of young children, that places certain limitations on you on one side, but it opens doors on the other side. And you can fulfill your calling in building relationships with other young mothers. And, what is that calling? What do those relationships look like? The love, care, and devotion you're giving to your kids and trying to train and raise them, and how does that manifest itself? As well as if there are particular volunteer opportunities, or if there are ways you can work in the church with others of like-minded mentality in terms of some goal or some social concern or some pursuit that you can bond together on. Out of all the things that you could do, what would those things be? Are you interested in ministering to the poor? Are you interested in working in a pro-life center? Abortion is a passion for you. Sex trafficking a passion. You can find your passion and why that passion, and what does that mean for you. So that at every stage of life there are limits. But there are opportunities. Retirement is another. You almost need a new life purpose statement for retirement. You don't have the opportunities for witness out in your workplace, but now you've got time that you can do other things that you didn't have the opportunity to do before. What are the implications of that upon your life? But it's helpful to me to think in terms of all the activities a person could do. Just look at a list of activities and which circle 3, 4, 5 that resonate with you. And of all the character qualities, you could come up with a list if you started making one of 30, 40, 50 character qualities. What are a couple that stand out for you, and why do they stand out? And you're trying to get down to this: who does God want me to be? What are a couple of character qualities that are going to be on your list that you want to define you? And what does God want you to do, particular work that he's given to you in this season of life, apart from or within the context of your work for employment. I mean, we're not talking about that kind of work, but kingdom work.
Right. I think as you're talking, another way to put those two questions would be like, how does God want me to be a disciple right now, and how does God want me to make disciples right now? And I don't know, do you think that's accurate? Do you think that gets at it?
I think so, yeah. It's the ultimate end for which God created you, distinctly, individually. It's what fills your life with meaning and purpose, and it's your identity before God that you live out in your everyday life, and it's yours,
right?
Not anybody else's. And you can't let anybody. You can certainly ask your friends.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, counsel of others is great in terms of who do they see you as, how would they describe you, what do they think you're gifted at, or where are your strengths and weaknesses. Those are good questions to ask to get feedback as you're trying to consider your life purpose statement.
Yeah, talking to others. And I really liked what you said before about discovering the limitations of your life season. And I think that's so key, because if we don't do that, then I think we can find ourselves running into dead ends a lot, where it's like, oh, I want to do this, and you take a couple action steps towards that, and then you realize, well, because of where I'm at in life, that's just not an option for me right now. And if you can spend the time beforehand thinking about that, then I think you have a lot better chance of not running into those dead ends, and on the other side, not missing those huge opportunities where you look back and say, oh man, I wish I would have been doing that during that season of my life. So it shows you limitations and special opportunities of your life seasons too.
Sides. Yeah.
Great.
You could ask yourself, what are some of my favorite scripture?
Yeah.
Why those scriptures? Who are some of my favorite Bible characters? Why those characters? What are the favorite biographies I've ever read, or stories I've read, and what intrigues me about them? Why do they resonate with me? All kinds of ways you can sort of evaluate yourself and who you are. Who do you feel a burden to reach or help or give yourself to? That's another way to look at it. What principles, if there was something you were going to take a stand on and say, here I stand.
Right.
What is it? And why would you stand there? And that helps you maybe narrow things down a little as well.
Yeah, great. I like all these kind of strategies for getting around the issue, trying to see it from lots of different directions. And I especially like that idea of using fiction or history, other stories that we encounter to kind of discover our own life story and what God has done, what he's looking to do in us. So
there are a couple of resources. I mentioned I was giving us the call before. Laurie, Beth Jones wrote a book on this subject. Can't think of the title right now, but
all right, we'll link it in the show notes.
Put it in the notes, okay?
Yeah.
Patrick Morley wrote a book, Man in the Mirror. It's a book for men. Oh my, it must be 25 years old or more. But he's got a chapter in there on a life purpose statement too that I found very helpful. Those are a few resources.
Great. And one final question. Somebody who's maybe taken a shot at life purpose statement before and didn't feel like it was really working for them. I don't know. What would you say to them?
Well, start somewhere.
Sure.
You can always rework it, revise it, rethink it. They're always a work in progress in one sense. So It's not like you have to have the perfect frameable,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
written in calligraphy, you know, fancy colors on hang on the wall kind of thing. You know.
Yeah.
But you, a couple character qualities
Mhm.
that resonate with you. I mean, if I say courage and Winston Churchill, you know, and you say that's not you at all, you know, okay, okay. So you say Martha, you know, serving, you know,
Sure.
behind the scenes servant, and that resonates. You know, who are those people,
Mm.
and just try to identify where you fit in that regard,
Yeah.
and find a couple character qualities, whether it's charge, you know, Teddy Roosevelt on this side, or it's Mother Teresa over here, you know. I mean, we all have those people we resonate with, and we can see ourselves as or aspire to be.
Yeah.
Who are they? You know, that's a good place to start.
Great. Yeah. It's not, you know, you don't have to publish your life purpose statement. It's
Right.
for you, and so if
It's just a tool.
Yeah, if you find out it's not working, then that's okay. Just rework it. Try again, and start somewhere. All right, that's all the questions I've got for you. Got any other closing comments, Tim?
No, though I can't really overemphasize the importance of being intentional, being purposeful. There are just too many people who spend their entire lives preparing to live.
Yeah.
And preparing to do what they think God wants them to do. No, whatever your circumstances are today, full-time employed or retired or injured or a stay-at-home mom or a student or whatever your place right now, God has a purpose for you right now in that place that he's calling you to pursue with intentionality.
Yeah, act. Don't prepare to act.
Right.
Yeah, great. All right, well, thanks for joining us today, folks, and we'll see you soon.